Okay, so hey everyone, and welcome to the interview with Sean Thomas right here. I'll be the interviewer, and then Sean Thomas will be the interviewee. So, I guess just to get us started, Sean Thomas, could you just introduce yourself for us a bit?
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Shaun, like Albert mentioned. I went to Academy of the Canyons where Albert currently goes to, and I'm gonna be attending UCLA this fall as a biochem major. And some interesting facts about myself, I'd say, I don't know, I like working out. I like hanging with my friends and I paint sometimes when I'm bored. And I like listening to R&B music.
All right, thank you. So, I guess just to get some of the most common questions out of the way first, what are some of your plans for the future? Like, what kind of career or job do you want to go into?
Got it. So eventually down the line, I want to be a physician, maybe a physician scientist and do research on the side. I'm not too sure yet. I just want to like test the waters first before I go in. But yeah, definitely something along the lines, especially in the medical field and as a physician, so I could take that autonomy for myself.
All right, sounds great. And then uh, a little bit more about your high school experience. Uh, what do you think were some of the most important classes that you took that had to do with your major, or just most important in general?
Got it. So mainly with my classes, due to a lot of like regulations that my school does, like I wasn't allowed to take too many bio or chem classes specifically related towards my major, but I did take a lot of health related classes, I'd say, or like interesting classes I found, like psychology. I took a lot of psych classes. I there was also I took a lot of I took the intro to bio and the intro to chem classes both at my high school and at a dually enrolled college and did AP tests on the side as well, just because I wanted to get to know it more, the subjects. So
All
I
right.
recommend taking, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
You can go on.
I'll just say I'd recommend taking like classes that you think would be more beneficial to you. It doesn't even have to be beneficial towards your major, but if it's like a skill you want to learn, like writing or journalism, just go take the class for it. Like you only have one shot, so might as well.
All right, yeah, I totally agree with that. And another thing for high school, what kind of club or activities did you take part in or did you host?
Got it. I first started when I got to ninth grade. I was interested in human rights and a lot of political issues. So we had a human rights club, but then COVID hit that year, so it kind of disbanded. And then I started my own medical club just because I was interested in that type of stuff. And we did have some business undertones and underlying to it because we kind of merged with another former business club at AOC. And then, yeah, that's what I kind of ran for I think 3 years of my high school career. It kind of started in COVID, but I did start out with a human rights club, and I'd say it was pretty fun. So I'm also part of my school's ASB, or I was now. I have to say, I forgot I graduated, but yeah, I'd say that was pretty fun too. We kind of did it as a class, and it just was a nice experience getting to know like everyone throughout all the grades and just kind of just being a leader at school.
All right, great. And did you do any like clubs or activities outside of school that you like spent a lot of time in?
Yeah, so I did a few actually. So I'm a big volunteer as well, especially because the field I want to go into, it requires a lot of helping people. So I did found a chapter in Santa Clarita called Lion's Heart. It's a teen organization encouraging teens to just volunteer and give back in any field they're interested in. And with just a group of students that um that were interested, we did a lot of volunteer activities around Santa Clarita and I guess other neighboring places. I did a lot specifically within like the healthcare field just because that's what I was interested in. And I kind of wanted to get to know the field better. And I'd also say I was a writer, both like freelance and personal. Like I journal a lot. And I also just send some stories or things I write to just publications, whoever's willing to take them.
Oh wait, that's actually very interesting. I didn't know about that before. Did any of like did they accept any of your kind of applications?
Yeah, I actually had a few. I was a freelance writer just every once in a while, just for some local outlets sometimes. And I actually had a piece submitted to the New York Times. It was just a multimedia piece. It was nice because it got published. It's somewhere online. I also did freelance writing just for a high school group of the LA Times. It wasn't that much, but I just wrote about some of my experiences and my opinions.
That's really interesting. Definitely send me some of those articles later.
I
And
got
then
you.
and then I know you talked about how you like to work out a lot. Uh do you do any like sports or any kind of physical activities like that?
Yeah, so I was actually a big basketball player in my younger days, and I kind of continued that until COVID. I did take a hiatus from sports because of COVID. And then in 11th grade, I had like a small affinity for soccer. So I just joined a local club and I was just like, oh, time to get my body moving. Just something nice to do. I kind of just play basketball every once in a while with my friends now, but not like competitively anymore. And I do play chess if that counts as a sport.
All right. And then just one more general question about high school. What was kind of the most difficult challenge that you faced in high school, whether it be like grades, or anything of the sort?
Yeah, so I'd say the most difficult challenge of high school was kind of just balancing everything. Like your social life, your school life, I guess your extracurriculars and like your family life as well, just because all that can get draining, especially if you put too much effort into one side or start slacking in another side. Like it can be really challenging and pile up, especially like if you're not getting enough sleep. Sometimes it interferes with that. It sometimes interferes with your diet. It just interferes with everything. And the whole thing can go crashing down if you don't manage it well or like are aware with it. So I'd say like having to adapt to that. And I'm not saying I'm like the best at like time management or adapting for sure, but I guess that was the biggest challenge for me, just balancing and time management.
All right. And then sorry, one last question about high school. Uh what was your favorite part or memory that you made during high school?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a lot of favorite memories. I'd probably say like I have a lot of moments with my friends that were nice, but our school does this ritual called like class cup. And it's like a football game between all the grades, but after the game, just my friends and I, we just go out and like do whatever until 3 a.m. and it's just really cool. So, and it's right before Thanksgiving break, so it's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, sounds really fun. All right. And then uh more on the college side now. I know most people want to hear this. What do you think made you stand out among the crowd in your applications?
Got it. So I'd say it was probably like maybe my story, just because I kind of combined everything. I've had a lot of like personal troubles related to my health and my family's health. And I kind of, I guess, combined that with my interest in journalism and writing and just all that, combined with like my health passions and what I did in high school, along with, I guess my stats were pretty good too. But I'd say what really separated me was I think stats are just kind of like the threshold to get you over, but what separated me was more like my story and how I like made it, I guess.
All right. All right. Sounds really good. And then uh one more question here. What factors did you consider when it came to applying to different colleges? Like what did you want to see from them? What did you want to kind of get from them?
Yeah, okay. So I kind of did it a little blindly when choosing to colleges to apply to. I got into a few schools like early action, so I just did whatever and I just applied wherever. And I applied to a lot of liberal arts schools, but I'd say factors that I guess over time that I started caring about were location and what opportunities would, I guess, allow me to be, I guess, the best pre-med and also location. Did I mention location? I forgot. I did. Okay. Yeah, location and what opportunities would allow me to be the best pre-med, whether it came to research or like what hospitals are nearby. I also wanted to see if the schools had like medical schools closer to, I guess, the city, just so you don't have to go so far to do like research or get those connections. And yeah, I'd say those are pretty big factors.
All right, and this might be a little repeating question, but I know you got into like prestigious schools like Cornell, Berkeley. What made you choose UCLA in particular?
Yeah, so for me, I think choosing a school is very dependent on your major or like what you're trying to do with your life. So I love Cornell and Berkeley, don't get me wrong, they're incredible schools. But for me, a big thing was location. Like when I visited them, I just like the vibe of LA better, especially since it's closer to home. Um, Cornell was interesting just because it was in the East Coast and it's very different from here in the West Coast, like from where I live. And also another factor was like how my pre-med opportunities. So Cornell's medical school, for example, is in NYC, while Cornell itself is in upstate New York. So that's like a big drive. And for example, Berkeley, they don't have a medical school. They use all of UCSF's, I guess, medical schools opportunities because they don't have their own. UCLA, it's close by. I already have like what I'm going for here with like my LA Times journalism stuff and my research stuff that I've already done. And I just thought it'd be better when it came to pre-med opportunities and the fact that it was closer by and I could finish faster just because of the way my school works. Is it okay if I elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So the school Albert and I go to, we take a lot of dual enrollment classes. And so basically we take classes like Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, a bunch of different classes at community colleges. Just and we've been doing that since ninth grade in lieu of APs. And because of that, you can save a lot of time and money when you're going to like, especially like UC schools. And I can save a lot of time if I chose UCLA or UC Berkeley, and I just thought LA was the better choice. And don't get me wrong, like it took me a while to choose between LA, Berkeley, Cornell, but yeah, I just ended with LA at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you came to a really good, reasonable conclusion. I hope that does work out the best for you.
Thank you.
So, one more question. How did you prepare to write like, your college essays? Do you have any tips or any tricks? Because I know the essay is a huge portion of your application, basically.
Yeah, for sure. So, first tip, start early. Don't be like me. I procrastinated because I was doing all my research stuff until August, mid-August, and I didn't take it seriously until September. And I'd say A, start early and preparing the college essays. What I like to do, here's what I did. I kind of put all my things on a doc, like all my prompts for every school on one doc and put them in order of like which deadline was first. So I could see everything and see if like, oh, which essays I could reuse again. There are a few essays you could also like reuse multiple times. For example, like a lot of the schools like ask you like, oh, why do you want to choose this school? And what I'd say you should do is probably like have one type of template, like write one why us school, like really, really, really good, and kind of use that as a framework for like other schools, and then just replace it with like, values or like that are different between the schools or like your major, like what programs the school offers that are specific to the school, for example. And then like, I guess for your other when actually like writing your essays when it comes to brainstorming ideas, just kind of like look at your whole life or like I'd probably say more within the high school range because they might not see a middle schooler as like mature or like an elementary schooler. So kind of just think of high school and like you could like literally write about anything and just choose one moment and show and have a friend read over it like after you're done writing that about that one moment and see what they get out of that essay because you want to try to show like I guess a personality type about you or a personality trait about you where it's like, oh, I want to make myself look, I don't know, like interesting, or I want to make myself look, I guess, persevering. Then your story, you can ask your friend, be like, hey, like, do I look persevering in this? And then if they're an honest friend, they'll give you honest feedback.
All right, thank you for those tips. And then moving on to kind of a different sector, uh, one of the main issues with high school students that what they have difficulty with is time management. So, did you have this issue in high school? And if you did, was how did you kind of fix it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I talked about this a little earlier, but time management and balance were probably like my biggest challenges in high school. And at first, like they were really poor. I can't lie. Like I started sleeping at like 3, 4 every day, pulling all-nighters and like extending my work for a longer period of time. And honestly, like that just made it worse because like, you don't get sleep, you don't think well at right, and the rest of your day drags on. You don't eat right, like you're more worried about food than you are like doing your homework, for example. And I guess over time, like what I did is I took like a day or two for myself, just maybe over like a weekend or like something like that, and just being like, hey, I want to fix everything. Let me see if I can create a system for myself. So the first thing I did was obviously, like put some time away for like showering, sleeping, eating, like the essentials you need to do. And after all that, you kind of put yourself in an optimal condition to, I guess, do like your schoolwork or the things you need to do. And I always tried doing my schoolwork whenever I could, just because I knew I didn't want to really do it at home, especially since I get really distracted by a lot of the things around me, including like my little brother, for example, who, is amazing, but is always asking me to play with him. And I'm just like, hey, I got work to do, type of thing. So I'd say it's just spend a day or two or even a week, just like, hey, how am I gonna be more productive within a certain amount of time? Because you only have, 24 hours in a day. You kind of have to just use it wisely. And it might take a little longer, but have some time, like maybe even at school, to do your homework, whether it's like a free period or like whether you're with your friends and you got nothing else to do. There's always some time there. Like it's not the hardest thing in the world.
All right, thank you. I think that'll definitely help some people who are listening. And then uh more about that. Can you describe your kind of study system in a way, and how effective do you think that your study system was?
Yeah, got it. So I think my study system kind of improved over time until like 12th grade, and then senioritis hit me like a truck. But before that, like basically I have a table in my room, the one I'm currently at. It's pretty dark here. I have this one light right here. It's white. It's pretty convenient because it kind of spotlights my work and just what I have to do. And I also have a to-do list of things to do every day, just like like work out or like, get 8 hours of sleep, make sure, you do whatever. And also like daily goals when it comes to like, oh, finish, I guess, this application for like an internship, or finish this homework assignment. And then like for bigger events like in the future, I have like a printable calendar you can find online. It's just Google like calendar for like January, for example, if it's January, and then like highlight big dates and like a pen or something, like huge exam like January 19th, for example. And by then you can have like a forward seeking, I guess, mindset of like, hey, when this thing is here, I got to start studying for this. And when it comes to bigger exams or like bigger projects, like start studying ahead, but then like dedicate some time to like grind for it, is what I'd say.
All right, thank you. And then uh one question right here was how many hours did you spend kind of studying each day, and how many hours on like extracurricular activities and whatnot? And then did you ever kind of set like a limit for it? Like I'll do this for a maximum of this many hours and then I have to stop that.
Yeah, so that's a good question actually, because it changed throughout all of high school. So I want to say in ninth grade, it was kind of like a breeze for me, and then I wouldn't study at all. I was more into like my social life and like, oh, how am I going to be a cool person type of thing. And I kind of got a little more serious when it became, I guess, second semester of ninth grade, and I was like, wait, I'm like growing up, like I need to start getting serious about life, type of thing. And then COVID happened, and then that kind of just, I guess, woke me up. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to change. But yeah, I didn't spend too much time doing in school activities. I spent some time, obviously more into some classes than others. I kind of wanted to make sure I got everything done throughout like the day before like 3 p.m. when it came to like homework for, I guess, non-dual enrolled classes. And then dual enrolled classes, like the homework for that, I'd spend a little more time on it. And depending on the class, whether how hard it was, like I'd spend hours, like don't I'd spend like 2, 3 hours just of deep work, just focusing and trying to understand a subject. And when it came around finals weeks, I'd probably spend like maybe like the 2 days before the final, I would spend like 8 hours each day, both the days, just to know all the concepts so it's fresh in my head. I don't like studying like too ahead for finals just because I feel like you're gonna forget it anyway and try to, I guess, refresh it again before the deadline, before your final. But yeah, and with extracurriculars, it just got more overbearing over time. Like I started in ninth grade. I didn't spend too much time on extracurriculars. I just played basketball, I did chess. I didn't do too much. And then over time, it kept getting higher and higher till basically I was doing 40 hours of extracurriculars a week. And it was very bad, very, very bad. And I didn't have any time to myself. I was getting maybe 6, 7 hours of sleep. So what I had to do is I looked at it and I looked at like the things I was doing and I was like, okay, I can cut this out. I can cut this out. Because you don't want to be spending more than 20 hours a week on, maybe 25 hours a week on like all your extracurriculars, just because it's very draining and you need to care about your health and you need to care about it'll affect you for sure. And you won't have any time to yourself. It's like basically working a full-time job along with school. Like it's so I cut a lot out and I for senior year I just did about like maybe 20 hours of extracurriculars, which was like volunteering, writing, playing chess, just doing whatever I could. I had to cut a lot out for sure though.
Yeah, all right. Some great advice you said. And I was just wondering, I know many people say that like junior year is the hardest year of high school. Was that the same situation for you? Or if not, what year was kind of the most difficult for you to handle?
I actually say for me, junior was my favorite. I guess my social life was good, and I guess high school was just easier at the time. Maybe it's because I was more focused and like I had more of a drive. But for me, I'd probably say senior year because we kind of overlook those applications, like, and how hard they can really get if you overthink them. And if you don't start early like me, like make sure you start early. Like I want to reiterate that like a lot because if you don't start early, you're gonna end up like me writing like 30 essays in like a week and you're just like, bruh. But yeah, and then I'd also say senior year, if you're taking a challenging course load, which I did, I probably took like my hardest course load when it came to classes. Like senior and junior, I'll tie them, but I'll probably say senior was a bit harder just because you have to balance it with now your extracurriculars and your application essays, which just makes everything more challenging. And I also had some personal stuff going on senior year, so that might make it a little different, but I'd say senior year was definitely the most challenging for me, like in and out of school.
Yeah, all right. 30 essays a week sounds very tough, but yeah.
That might have been an exaggeration, but it was a lot, and it felt like that for sure.
All right. And then I know you talked about also how like AOC we don't really do APs at our school, but you talked about how you kind of did APs outside of it. So uh what APs did you do outside of it? And do you think that it helped you at all in your college application?
Yeah, of course. So I did my sophomore year. Okay, this is how my AP situation started. So my freshman year, I kind of noticed like all my friends from other schools were like, oh, like this is like real coursework material. Okay, like let me see what this is about. So I kind of was in like, biology and chemistry. So I was like, let me go take both of them sophomore year, which I don't recommend taking two science APs at like once, especially if it's like outside your school, especially if it's bio and chem. But I did both of those my sophomore year, and I think I had an advantage because of COVID. It was really nice because my chemistry teacher in sophomore year was really nice, and I'd always stay after hours to ask her more about like chemistry questions related to AP Chem, like for example oxidation reactions, which wasn't something we really covered in, I guess, honors chemistry. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is interesting. And biology, I just studied for that, kind of self-studied for it. And then junior year I took calculus and psychology, calc BC. I can't lie, I was already kind of prepared for the BC exam. I kind of just did it because like I low-key wanted the AP Scholar Award or whatever. And I had an advantage because I took Calc 1, Calc 2, and Calc 3 by the time. So I'd say that was pretty interesting. And same with Psych. Psych, I just kind of wanted a refresher before I took another psych class over the summer that year, which I actually thought the psych exam was pretty helpful, but specifically for AOC students, I don't think taking AP exams is definitely worth it because colleges don't are kind of steering away towards the oh how many stats you can get, how much of a tryhard you are type of thing. Like they're kind of steering more away from that and going towards more of the what story you can tell within, I guess, your application rather than I guess like what numbers you can get. Because nowadays everyone has numbers and like it doesn't make you stand out, which is something I kind of messed up doing because I did spend a lot of time learning for those things. So when it came to, I guess, applications, I guess it didn't help a lot, but it was really nice to know because now I feel more prepared when it comes to biochem as a major overall. So I don't regret it, but if I was recommending it towards someone else, if they were looking to do it for their application, I would 100% not recommend taking APs outside of school, especially since dual enrollment classes are kind of viewed the same.
All right, thank you for that. And then just touching on kind of like the score situation, uh did you take the ACT or the SAT, and do you think that your score kind of helped you on your application as well?
Yeah, for sure. So I did take the SAT and I took it one time. I kind of, at first, I didn't really want to take it because my goal was just to go to like UCLA or Berkeley. But yeah, I took it out of peer pressure and I did get a 1540, which was nice. But I'd say what was the good thing about it was I don't know. I don't know about like standardized testing and where it's going these days because it's changing throughout like every year. Like they change the rules for it every year. I know some schools are bringing it back this year. I heard there's like an online SAT now. So I'm not sure. I think it definitely kind of helped, but it's not something that set me over the top, if I could be honest, like especially with the private schools and the public schools. I want to say this right now, they don't care about your SAT scores. Like I was saying earlier, like the UCs, they don't care. They don't even see your score, even if you submit it. It's really nice if you want to get like, I think like some scholarships or some placement, which is really nice because when I submitted my score, I didn't have to take the writing placement or the math placement tests or anything just because I already had a score there. And that was pretty nice, but it doesn't affect your admission for those schools. But for schools like I think like MIT, Georgetown, and there's like a few others, they said like they still require you to submit SAT or ACT scores. So I'd say it just depends what school you're applying to and what you're going for. And like if you're going for like a liberal arts school, like I don't think they care as much at all for sure because a lot of them were test optional a long time ago, like way before COVID. So I don't think they care. So I'd say your scores don't matter too much. Like if you get a bad score, just don't submit it. That's what a lot of my friends did, and they did really fine in college decisions, I'd say.
All right, and then just one more question about these kind of stats. Did you get any like how do I say it? Kind of awards or certificates that like either in your field or any kind of scholarships that might have helped you?
Like related to my stats or just like separate?
Just any like awards or certificates.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I got a few actually. So when I did my research internship, I won a best presentation award, which I thought was pretty nice. I don't think I listed it on my application. I might have, but I also got like a research stipend of some money. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose the number, but yeah, I got some money and I listed that on my application for sure. I got the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, gold back to back. Wait, no, I got gold one year and bronze the other year. I should have clarified that. And then I got this medical competition award in ninth grade and 11. Well, I guess it's ninth grade summer, 10th to 11th summer. Just they were some small competitions, but I didn't have anything. Oh, I had an LA Times International Award actually, but I listed that like number two on my list, I think. But I think that was my only awards. Like I wasn't like I didn't have any crazy awards or anything.
I think getting a national award is already pretty good, but all right, thank you for that. And then uh Okay, just a few last questions before we open it up for a small Q&A. Uh, I know you talked about your medical organization a lot. So, kind of how has your medical organization either impacted your life or kind of gave way to a lot of what you could like say on your application?
Yeah, of course. So my friend and I kind of initially started it in I think our 10th grade 10th to 11th grade summer, more because we were targeting misinformation when it came to public health or medicine. And we kind of just wanted to also promote other underlying ideas of medicine, like, hey, medical writing, for example, or like the business side of medicine, or like, the arts and designs of like medical posters. And we kind of just wanted to, I guess, give some promotion to that. And that's what we started. And honestly, like my friend and I were both aspiring pre-meds. So I think our goals more were to highlight other factors. Like for example, like I said, I'm a writer and I don't really like how the humanities are kind of like neglected when it comes to, I guess, the medical field overall. Like, and I think that's like a big factor of why healthcare isn't it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's not, I feel like it could be better if we didn't neglect, I guess, communication, humanities, those types of underlying factors, because that's like the main reason my friend and I started it. And it kind of just grew from there. Like we just spent more time, I guess, learning how to like market our organization, learning more time about how to fundraise, how to do a lot of different skills that I think are so beneficial to, I guess, businesses or the real world, or just, I guess, being an adult. And even that, like, it was a big talking point on my application. It was probably like, I think I listed it as my first or second extracurricular for like most schools. I like flip-flopped it for some and some others, but yeah, I'd say that was probably like my biggest talking point just because I knew it in and out and I just spent so much time on it. And that was a field I wanted to go into.
All right. Yeah, and I've also heard from a lot of students before about your medical organization. I just had a question. It is global, right?
Yeah, it is. I don't know how many countries we're in right now, but we're in a lot. Shout out to everyone that's contributed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you have like a member count right now?
Oh yeah, we do. Low key, I can't lie. Since I've been traveling this whole summer, I have not checked it out in a while. But yeah, I will have to go look at that again. Let me see. Oh, our website's down right now.
All right,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll
Yeah. Whenever you get the chance, just let me know. And then yeah, that is really cool. Okay, just to wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to mention about like your high school experience or kind of anything else we talked about here or anything we didn't talk about?
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to your high school experience, don't I guess just take it one at a time. Like don't you can have goals set in the future, but don't let it like debilitate your mind because it'll take a toll on you for sure. And make sure you have like good friends, good people around you because that's what really makes your high school experience. And make sure you have a good relationship with your teachers, like not only for recommendations, like for college, like Albert was mentioning, but just make sure like you have it just because they're always going to be there for you, just it'll help you both for college and for like the real world. Just make sure you have a good support system around you as well. Um, yeah, make sure. Oh, and when it comes to time management, like I said, try to start things early. And when you can do something, do it because future you is gonna hate the past you for sure. So that's all I'd say.
All right, thank you, Sean. Now I guess we'll open up to a small Q&A. So, uh, if any of the audience has any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat your question. And yeah. So, does anybody have any questions? You guys can think about it for a bit, but I do have a question personally. Uh, you said you played basketball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so did you attend any like team kind of like any organizations? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
club,
I
yeah,
got you.
yeah, club
Yeah.
sport, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually played competitively starting from I think fourth grade to I guess ninth grade. And yeah, I did play for a few. I started with this organization called USU, but it was just kind of like training. And then I played for the city for a bit, and then I got into travel ball for West Coast Elite. I got pretty far to like nationals and every time, and it was pretty nice like in middle school, but then when I got to high school, it kind of dwindled down again. And I just played like, just club ball at that point, just because I didn't want it to affect the rest of my life, just because it was a huge toll. And I'm not the tallest guy out there. So I just didn't, I just guess I kind of lost a little love for the game.
All right, all right. Thank you for that. And then I think there's a question in chat. Do you play video games?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So I was into the whole Among Us thing and the Fortnite thing when those were huge. And I was also, let's see, I did play a lot of NBA 2K and FIFA throughout my time in high school. I didn't want to like overdo it because I've seen what addiction to games can do. It can take like hours of your day. But I definitely did have my fair share of playing, and I played Minecraft a lot. So
All right, all right. Does anybody have any other questions? All right, I think one more question from me. I guess I know you talked about how like you took the APs and how like they kind of weren't they were helpful in some kind of way, but like of course applying putting them on your application is not really that much of a help.
yeah.
Uh, but I guess what was like the most helpful AP to you that you took?
For me, it was definitely probably chemistry, just because A, that's my major. The ones I took in junior year were more just like refreshers or just to see if I could do better. So I'd say I'd dwindle it down to chemistry and biology. I'd say chemistry just because I was taking honors chem that year and I kind of really, really got into chemistry. I did all the lab work by myself after I ordered a lot of stuff, and it was a lot of money, I can't lie, but it was nice to learn. So but yeah, I'd probably say chemistry just because that was more closely aligned to my major and I spent the most time on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions or you chilling?
Any questions? Well, one more from me.
Yeah, of
Did
course.
you did you do any like jobs or internships during your high school that like kind of like I know because all of this kind of costs money, right? So did you do any jobs or anything that could like act as a funding for it?
Yeah, of course. So I always do these small time gigs when it comes to like using my skills, like, oh, can I make a website for you? Just reach out to small businesses. I did that in like ninth grade. I made some cash, but I did a summer internship. It was unpaid, but I didn't have to pay for it either. So I was like, oh, might as well just learn for research, ninth to 10th grade summer. And from 10th to 11th summer, I wouldn't really call this an internship, but I shadowed a physician for about a good month. I learned a lot when it came to, I guess, the life of a physician in and out of like, I guess, the clinical setting. And it was pretty nice because there's a lot of specialties of physicians and healthcare workers, and you just kind of get to know the whole place better. And then 11th to 12th grade is where I got like my research stipend and I got paid to do research. And it was pretty cool because you kind of drive to the university, get to see everything. And yeah, it was amazing. And I guess that kind of acted as my source of funding for a long time. So
Wow, that's very nice. So, last call. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, if not, I'll